Welcome back, everybody, to the New Adolescence.
The show that's still growing up,
That's right, I'm JP.
and I'm Tyler.
Today, we'll be diving into the things that are fighting for your attention every day and trying to take away your most important resource, your time. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Today's sponsor is Red Bull. Having a dull moment? Need a little pep in your step? Well, now we can give it to you. In a can, Red Bull. Red Bull gives you wings. Man, I gotta
I
start reading
like it.
those. I gotta start reading those before we're on air.
Red Bull gives you wings. That's amazing. I'm so happy that we have a sponsor today that literally promotes focus, and we're going to be talking about attention here.
That
I'm so excited.
that's true. I'm pretty stoked too. But before that, we have a very special hot take for y'all. It seems like, at least mentally, everyone's kind of vacating this 2020 COVID quarantine mindset. Um, as things are sort of opening up, case counts are down. At least in the United States, it feels like we are getting close to a little more normalcy. But I wanted to ask, what do you want to take with you from this pandemic? And what do you want to leave behind? In other words, like what are things that happen in the pandemic that you want to remember and hold on to and let and be changed by, and what are things that you just want to totally leave back in those days?
Well, I think the biggest thing is for me being grateful. And an example of that was during the pandemic, I got the pleasure of working at home with Bella, and she got to work at home too. So we were both work from home employees. So we were both, I guess, coworkers every single day. So that was super super awesome. And just being able to take lunches together. We got a dog, so now we're able to walk the dog together, and honestly, just get up in the morning and have coffee. I think those are some very special moments that without COVID, I don't think I would have experienced them until maybe retirement. Honestly, I can't think of a time before COVID where I'd have that much time to have lunch or both be able to share a cup of coffee in the morning. So I think that's something I'm going to take away. So being grateful for that. What about you?
Yeah, I like that. I think that's very real. Like it is like there's actually a lot of opportunity in this time uh, that really won't be repeated in any other time in our lives, more or less. Um, I've been thinking about this a little bit, things that I want to take with me, and I think one of the big ones is intentionality, especially with relationships and with the way that I'm living my life. Because there was a season, kind of like mid quarantine, where I really felt like I wasn't going outside, I wasn't like doing things that made me happy. I wasn't doing things that made me more fulfilled as a person. And I really feel like anytime you were going to spend time with someone um, mid pandemic, like you really had to be very intentional about how you were going to do it and the way that you were going to do it. And I'd like to kind of take that into my friendships moving forward in just making intentional spaces to spend time with the people I care about. Um, and on the flip side, I really don't want to take away this mindset of feeling like the world is falling apart. Uh, Again, like probably in that time where I wasn't getting outside much, I wasn't doing things that were making me happy. I was also constantly checking like COVID case counts, new rules, the way that things were changing, um, and everything just felt like it was falling apart for a really long time. And I kind of just at some point had to sort of unload that burden and realize that I can do as much as I can to try and ensure safety for different people, but I can't save everyone. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah,
so I'm definitely hoping to leave that sort of mindset of the world falling apart behind. And I think there's plenty of things to freak out about still, especially if you're concerned about global warming or anything of a global scale like that. Um, and so, kind of just doing my best to help out and stop the problem, but also not letting it just paralyze me in fear.
yeah, yeah. That's powerful. I think what I want to leave is just the mentality of going through the motions. And what I mean by that is I remember when COVID first started, I really thought it was going to be, oh, we'll be out of the office for 1 or 2 weeks and then I'll be back in the office. Like nothing's going to change too much. And then um, because I had that mindset in the beginning, I think a lot of work and projects and goal setting really got put to the side because I thought, you know what, I get a free 2 week break here just the world's paused is the word I used a lot. And I thought, man, I can like, play more video games, do more things I want to do that and just walk away from everything that was going great for me as far as um, just personal growth and good health. And I think maybe towards, maybe the second season of our podcast, I started realizing like, man, this is not going away. This is here to stay. And like you said, just being more intentional, going outside more, being intentional with relationships and also with myself and trying to not look at this time as a pause and in life and I can take a break, but this is a pause, but during this pause I can do things that I might not be able to do when the world is unpaused, if that makes sense. So that's something that I want to leave behind is just the idea of just going through the motions and just waking up every day and then going to bed and then doing the same thing the next day.
Yeah, I like that. And I think I think you probably could have taken one of two mindsets, right? Like it's either, well, in either case, it's a disruptor of your norm, right? But you could have said, okay, this is just a pause, and I'm going to relax and not be the person that I want to be throughout this time. Or on the flip side, I think a really positive approach is looking at a disruptor like COVID in 2020, um, and saying like, okay, things are changing around me, but how can I still move towards the person that I want to be? How can I actually use this disruption to become more of that? And I think I heard you saying that when you were like we're talking about intentional time with Bella during COVID and those sorts of things as well. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, for anyone listening out there, I definitely encourage you to before COVID is just a thing in the textbooks. Take a minute and just consider your life before, during, and after COVID, and what you want to take with you and what you want to leave behind.
Yeah. This is a once in a lifetime, or I'm not once in a lifetime, but definitely something that doesn't come around often. I think it's if you take a step back, you'll find some pretty powerful things in your own lives.
Right. Yeah, and honestly, like I think I said this a long time ago, but I've kind of forgotten about it. But like this really has been a generationally defining event, and like nothing is going to be the same afterwards. So if you can keep channel the good things and get rid of the bad things, I think you're moving in the right direction, getting out of this. But
Exactly.
um, moving on to focus, I think we live in a time right now where more things than ever are vying for our attention. Um, And honestly, things like discipline and focus have kind of fallen on the wayside, like as not really, at least in our generation, not really things that are so worried. Like I feel like I hear all the time about people who are working from home and they have their side screen going with whatever like whatever
Which,
entertainment, yeah, or Twitch, I guess, would be one of those options. But JP, you have some stats for us on this, right?
yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to bring to point is when we wrote down, what demands our focus. I mean, the two big things I see that we both came up with was the cell phone and the internet. I think universally that's probably the number one, number two of what vies for our attention. I also wrote like bad habits, I think demands our focus, and we'll get into some bad habits with these not so fun facts, as I'm calling them. And these bad habits lead to ourselves. I think those are things like we get in our own way of our focus. And to go into the not so fun facts, people are now watching 6 hours of TV a day. Now, I don't have a quantifying number there. Sorry about that. They're spending 12 hours a day consuming media in general. Um, when I look at those numbers, it seems like a lot, but I think if you look into your own life, I mean, even having those numbers 3 and 6 hours a day consuming media in general, that's still a lot.
Oh yeah.
The average person will spend 2,943 hours of their own life just deciding what to watch. And this one's big because when I look at my life, Bella only wants to watch Harry Potter. Harry Potter 1 is all she wants to watch. And anytime we're not doing that and we're not watching a show that I've luckily been able to decide that we'll both watch, for example, The Big Bang Theory, we spend a lot of time looking through Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus, and then we just come back to whatever show we were watching at the time. And I just think, man, that's like if we do that, like people must do it for every night. And so I think that's crazy, that number of just spending that amount of hours deciding what to even consume. So it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
this it's almost this paralysis by the amount of choices that you're surrounded by at this point.
Oh, it's like almost too much. I just saw something. There's like a Paramount Plus now, and they have this movie with Mark Wahlberg that looks really interesting. But man, I've got to I'm not gonna buy Paramount Plus just to watch that movie. Like there's too many little 5.99 a month subscription services for media. It's insane. Um, okay, here's another one. 66% of Americans are on prescription drugs. Millions of those are addicted to them. 1 in 8 Americans is an alcoholic.
That's a pretty crazy stat to me. That I mean, at that point, like those are definitely people that you know. Uh, that's not just affecting, every random person in a town far away from you, but like those are people you know that are being affected by that.
Yeah. I don't know too many people on prescription drugs, but I don't know if that's like a mainstream thing people share, at least not in my circles, but I
Hmm.
imagine some are. Being an alcoholic, I don't know what the clear definition is on an alcoholic, but I can definitely think of people who consume quite a bit more alcohol than I do weekly.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that quantifies them as an alcoholic. I'm not calling them an alcoholic, but people definitely do drink a lot more than me.
I think typically the metrics for alcoholism are things like, do you drink more than you intend to? Do you feel like you can't stop drinking? Do you feel like you turn to um, alcohol as a coping method? Things like that. Um, and so, I mean, yeah, that's a pretty significant amount of people that are answering yes to those questions.
Yeah, yeah. More than 2 billion people are overweight. Hey yo. 650 million are obese. Double hey yo.
That's worldwide, I guess.
Worldwide, yeah. It makes sense. It totally makes sense. We eat way too much.
Yeah, and I
The
think,
the Yeah, go ahead.
oh, and I think, I mean, these are all just cases of things like vying for your attention. Like the reality is, a lot of these like overeating or addiction sort of things are um, cases of being exposed to advertisements or being exposed to the effect of overeating, right? You just feel like it like fills you with dopamine or whatever. Like food is being engineered to make you happy and be easy to consume more and more, which is kind of
Yeah.
crazy to think about.
Don't they engineer it to make you want more of that same food or
I,
something?
I'm not sure about that. I mean, if you like try eating like one potato chip at a time, that's what I've always heard is like try eating just one potato chip. Like it's the worst. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure people were thinking about like, okay, we want people to eat more and more of this as they're having any of our snack or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, this right here, more than 2 billion people are overweight. I mean, that's 100%. I look at every single person I know that isn't a health nut, they're probably overweight.
Hmm.
Whether or not they look overweight, they probably are. I myself am in the obese category. Not anymore. I think I'm in the overweight now. But I was at the obese section of my weight and height BMI or whatever calculations they use, which
Really?
is crazy because I didn't feel obese. But
Hmm.
now that I think about it, yeah, I probably was, and I probably shouldn't be that weight. Um, So it's crazy. Like that makes sense to me.
Yeah. And I think if you remember, we were talking about like New Year's resolutions at the start of this year. Like one of the top New Year's resolutions every year is for people to lose weight. And um, I think this idea of not being able to focus on the people that they want to be really plays into that that loss. Like there's so many people that feel powerless to lose the weight. Uh,
Do you know what today is?
what's today?
June 1st. Do you remember my New Year's resolution?
Weren't you going to lose a certain amount of weight?
I was gonna try and get under 200 by June.
How'd you do?
I
Did you make
only
it?
got to 209,
That's pretty good, man.
but I'm down from 233.
Yeah, you lost a ton of weight. That's like
It's just
10% of your body right there. You just like sloughed off 10% of your body. That's wild.
I think it's just like my eating.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this stat here is crazy. That one I always that one helps me focus knowing that stat.
Hmm.
This next one's a fun one. 35% of all internet traffic is pornographic. That doesn't surprise me. I don't know how much like what else is on the internet, 70, the other 65%, but 35% is a lot, but that doesn't surprise me.
That's insane. Like, I wonder if that accounts for like, I I don't know. Well, I guess I'm online almost all day because that's what I'm doing for work, or like I use the internet to access my work. Um, but 35% is huge. Like fully one third of all internet traffic.
Yeah, it's crazy, but that believe that's believable. 45% of teens say they are online almost constantly, which means it's actually way more. That one I didn't really understand, but I mean, I mean, most people are when they're online, even if they're saying, I guess what they're trying to say is people are saying they're almost online constantly, but they're probably downplaying it. They're probably on it a lot more. That
Yeah.
makes sense. I saw something that a lot of like the smartphones give you metrics on what you're doing on them, and I think on mine, I think I was on it like averaging last week maybe 4 hours on it with like 2 to 3 hours of playing this game called Hearthstone, and then the rest hour was split up between social media and YouTube or whatever the other apps that are on my phone. Um, so I think it's if you look at those metrics, you'd be surprised about how much you're on your phone time wise. I won't uh throw anyone under the bus, but somebody I live with was on it for like 8 hours, which was insane.
I hope Bella listens to these.
I
Um,
hope she does too. I'm gonna get in so much trouble.
yeah, I mean, I think the reality is like more than ever, everything is accessible to people, at least living in a country like the United States. Um, and I think what we're finding is more and more like people, it's really hard for people to be responsible and to be self-disciplined with that accessibility to everything, right? Like almost all of those stats revolved around the internet um, and entertainment. And I mean, with the exception of prescription drugs and obesity and overweightness, but like the reality is like, why can't we just say, why can't any of us just say like, I want to be this kind of person, and I don't want to have these habits or have these vices that um, that distract me from the person that I want to be. And I think my answer to you would be that it's really a lot of it is due to a lack of focus in your life.
Yeah. A lack of focus and just uh being complacent or going through the motions or just staying in a place of absolute comfort and never trying anything else. One thing that I visualize this lack of focus is when you go on vacation, Tyler, and you go say, I don't know, Italy, and you go all the way to Italy. I don't know if there's actually this in Italy, but maybe in Hawaii. But like you go all the way to Italy, and there's a Hard Rock Cafe.
Okay.
Like those are worldwide, but you went all the way to Italy, yet there's a line out the door of tourists for Hard Rock Cafe, but you're in Italy. Like that blows my mind sometimes. When I've traveled around the world and I see these chain restaurants and there's a line out the door of tourists, yet there's probably some amazing, great food. And it's because I think people just want to feel like they're at home, or they always like it. Maybe it's a safety or a comfort thing. And I think that can be similar to just like focus. Like it's hard to really narrow in your focus because what you do every day or what you feel is like your normal is just so comfortable. So that's one way I would maybe visualize it for our viewers.
Yeah, and
Is the idea? Yeah, that idea.
it's hard to break out of habits, especially bad habits,
Hmm.
if you're not living your life in an extremely focused way. I've been reading this book lately by Daniel Goleman. He's the guy who wrote Emotional Intelligence. I think I threw a couple quotes at you guys a few episodes ago. I've been reading a lot of him lately. But he has this book. It's called Focus: The Hidden Driver of Excellence. And in it, he really outlines this idea of being able to focus on things as the important, like one of the most important drivers of success, like as important as the social class in which you were born into. And he has study after study of these kids who one of the metrics he uses is like self discipline and self awareness. And um, I think a lot of parents have heard of this like test where if um, you put a cookie in front of a kid and you leave them in the room for 15 minutes, and then you say, okay, if you don't eat that cookie in the next 15 minutes, you can have a second cookie also. And like that test is such a huge metric uh, used to predict how successful a kid will grow up to be, like incredibly consistent if they choose to wait to eat that cookie. So, and I think what we're seeing is right now there's a whole society of people that are immediately indulging in that first cookie and not even asking themselves what would it look like if I waited and tried to have self-discipline in this moment to become someone who could enjoy both of those cookies.
That's it. Yeah, I you've told me that before, and yeah, it's just it's crazy. The idea, the instant gratification of that cookie is can be correlated to so many things I see in life, like uh the fast food or the movie on Netflix now, like just that instant gratification. But if you were to put away that distraction and maybe focus on something that you're really passionate about, say you really like art, that could be equated to that second cookie. Like that's just even sweeter than just that first Netflix movie. So that's an interesting experiment that Goldman talks about.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the reality is like we are now living in an economic system that is just entirely built on becoming faster and faster and faster and trying to take up more of the consumer's life, right? Almost every company is trying to become a lifestyle company where people will stand by them and whatever their product is, and people will like swear by it and live by it, right? Like uh the way that products have like invaded everyday language, like things like, oh, I'm just Netflixing, or I'm gonna Netflix and chill or whatever. Like there's like so many different examples of how products have actually invaded our language and our lives for that matter. Like all of a
Oh
sudden,
yeah,
every company is really trying to become a lifestyle brand and take over a larger share portion of their consumers' life really.
yeah, that Netflix and chill, just like that meme or word or phrase. I mean, that is really just using Netflix and the idea that you just hang out and watch a bunch of Netflix with somebody or your family or just yourself. You just and it's on shirts. It's crazy that that became a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're so right. I think with um companies trying to be a lifestyle or trying to always gain a larger percentage of our focus, I found some fun tips to help us focus or help you focus. One of them that I saw was to block all notifications except ones that promote good habits. Obviously, not phone calls and texts for your phone, but I just looked at my phone and I have push notifications from almost every app on there. Yet I never read them, but when they do come up, when you get that notification, you obviously look at your phone because you wonder, you know, what's trying to get my attention. But like probably doing that, I wonder how much time I spend looking at my phone. That's just a push notification of you look tired, you need to buy this energy drink, or Amazon's got this deal going on right now for 45 minutes or whatever the push notification says. So I thought that one was a good one.
Right.
And
And it takes your mental capacity too, right? Like this idea that you basically subscribe, like every company wants you to become a subscriber to their email list now. Um, and that's just so they can like wedge their way into your life on some level, whether that be push notifications or emails. Like they just want you to be thinking about them because on some level that is going to translate into sales for them.
yeah, I mean, it works. I know there's been times where I've gotten a Twitch notification that so and so is live, and I've just swiped it. No matter where I was, I've swiped it just to, look and see what they're doing. And sometimes some of the big streamers have an ad. You got to wait 30 seconds, to watch this amazing Doritos commercial, and then you can hop into the stream. And that's now probably a minute and a half of time that that notification took from me, and I wasn't even sitting at home wanting to watch it. I was just maybe at the store or something.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
absolutely.
Another one, I think you would like this. You were a big advocate for this when we first became friends. Simplify your phone. I dream about having an old school Razor, Tyler. Just a regular old flip phone. No blue messages, no apps. Just you call me, text me. That's all I need. But I love this idea, but it's a dream because I fear the not having the constant like access to social media or to YouTube because it's so easy and readily available. I fear that I would have to like go out of my way to my computer and look up whatever I wanted to look up.
Yes, yes, and everything, almost like everything now is kind of like created with the idea that you have a smartphone, right? And that you have all of this internet access at your fingertips, to the point where it just like becomes incredibly inconvenient to try and do anything when you don't. Like, I mean, one of the big things I think that's come about in the last like 5 years or so is Venmo. Like before Venmo, to like split a check with somebody, you would like pay them money, like actual cash, and now no one even carries cash around anymore. Uh, and it's like so it would be so hard to go back to a smartphone or like a non-smartphone right now. Um, but it encourages me, JP, that you are willing to give up the iPhone lifestyle brand.
Yeah. Um it's because of things like there's just so much going on. Like my next one is um one of my examples is my texting bubbles, like the notification, it tells me how many there are. It's upward of 60 plus daily. Daily. It's rarely below that after a full day if I've been working and I'm not looking at my phone. And it's just from everyone talking, or I even get text messages sometimes from like uh like the vet. Hey, you've got an appointment, next week. It's just constantly there, and when it gets to 60 plus, it's just me trying to just close them because I don't even read them because it's too much.
That
Um,
that fills me with anxiety when text numbers get that high because I just feel like I have this like obligation to so many different people that I need to like respond to all of them or something.
yeah, I definitely feel like I felt like that maybe like 3 years ago, but after like 2 or 3 years ago, I went downhill. If I don't answer the phone, like I'm okay with not answering the phone. I'm okay with just looking at it and be like, you know what, see you later. You'll get an answer one day, or I'll see you next time. It's just like the constant like having to just look at my phone. It's I'm starting to see it more now that I've been reading more books on it and understanding how to focus. One thing that I do regularly is clean up my iPhone. Uh, But as of recently, I would say maybe a year, I just counted how many apps I have on my phone, Tyler. I want you to take a guess, and I want our viewers to take a guess if you're listening right now. How many iPhone apps do you think JP has on his phone?
Um, 6.
No, I have 95 applications. And that's not what came on the phone, like your time. That's not counting like the weather app or anything. I have 95 downloaded apps from the App Store on my phone.
Dude, you might. I think you need 5 more and make it a cool 100.
It's too much. And that's where I get those push notifications from. I've got to go in there and turn them all off because I get random push notifications. Are you feeling sweaty today? You need some electrolytes. And it's like the Tom Brady app, like, because he has his own company. I get notifications like that. You need to buy some Tom Brady TB12 electrolytes. And I'm like, I got to delete this app. Like, I'm never going to, like, if I need Tom Brady electrolytes, which I do need them or I want them, I know where to go to get him. Just log on the computer and type in his website and go order him myself. Like I don't need an app to remind me about that. So I need to go in there and clean them up again because 95 is a little bit too much.
Everyone's a lifestyle brand, baby.
Exactly.
Dang. Yeah, that is maybe a little bit excessive for sure. Um, and so we kind of talked about like focus, like how are some ways we can grow focus in our lives, and I kind of wanted to take a step back a little bit and just ask the question like what actually is focus? Uh, and this book that I've been reading by Daniel Goleman, like he says there's 3 different kinds of focus really. Uh, and he's talking about it in the context of leadership. Like great leaders need to be in tune with all 3 kinds of these focuses. But I think this translates really well into normal life as well. Uh, and he talks about that there's inner focus, right, which attunes us to kind of our feelings, our intuitions, our guiding values. Like this is if you're like I want to be a more disciplined person, it requires great inner focus. Then there's other focus, um, which is kind of how we interact with in interpersonal communications, especially in our relationships. So this would be like your marriage, your friendships, um, kids, whatever the important relationships are you have, requires great other focus. And then there's an outer focus, which helps you to navigate the larger world as a whole. These are things like um, seeing patterns in the way that the world works, understanding rules, understanding consequences based on the system that you live in. Um, and I think reading this book, one of the really encouraging things is that he says for every one of these focus types of focuses, uh, there are ways to strengthen them. There are ways to practice them. There are ways to get better at these things. And JP, you outlined a bunch of good options for how to kind of whittle down your life into the necessities a little bit. And in any case, with any of these focuses, there are similar things that you can do and similar ways that you can grow into the person that you want to be, which was I thought was an encouraging message that he was giving in that book.
Yeah. I just love books like that. I love just that there's people out there that are trying to help or to guide us to better ourselves, whatever that may look like. I went to a ninja training in Portland. Tyler, I remember I stayed with you and Colleen. And this guy, Michael Fanning, he said that one of the big things that he said that separates him from the pack is that he wakes up at 4:30 every single day and he goes to bed at 9 p.m. And it said it's as simple as that. And 4:30 might it seems a little early, but that's probably why it separates him from the pack. But he says that at 4:30, he makes his bed, he brushes his teeth, he gets dressed into real clothes, he makes coffee, he reads and meditates, and he practices a language, which Spanish was what he was doing. And he said the biggest thing is the reading and meditation is hands down something that like it's an absolute must for him, and it's helped him reach his success. And now he makes quite a bit of change, and he was a real estate agent, but now uh he makes he has so much people vying for his attention, that real estate's a second job, and now he primarily just trains ninjas, they call him, but being basically training, like he's a lifestyle trainer and how to change your life. And I took the reading and meditation as that's like we talk about your most important time is your time, and that was his doing something for himself before he starts his day, and that is something that he must have. And I know it doesn't always look like reading and meditation. I mean, it could be working out, it could be going for a run outside. For example, in my life, when I work out before work, those are my best days. My most productive days at work. I can get off work and I don't feel stressed. When I don't work out before work, I always have this thing hanging over me. I have to get my workout in and then I can relax and enjoy my night. And if I get it done before work, I can just go into my night. And that mentality I've noticed is it's different for me. I don't know if you have something like that, but when I don't work out before work, it's a stressful evening. What about you, Tyler? You got anything like that?
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Like, um, there are all these things that kind of you start the day and they're sort of hanging over your head, and to have a complete day, you kind of want to check them off. And yeah, for me, exercise is one of those things. Um, and I honestly don't work, don't exercise before work usually, but if I exercise right after work, that is kind of my golden time. Otherwise, I fully agree. It's hanging over my head, and it's just something that um, weighs on me rather than it's an opportunity for me to be disciplined and apply some focus to my life. And I actually think like it is kind of brilliant that he wakes up at 4:30 and goes to bed at 9, um, because none of my productive hours of the day are after 9 p.m. Right? Like, and in general, like after 9 p.m., I'm hanging out with my wife, which is a good use of time. Um, or I'm just goofing off and kind of spending time without much focus or drive. Um, on the other hand, if I wake up early and I have this time to myself to actually do the things that I want to do and be the person that I want to be, have that me time, like you were saying, I think that's kind of a brilliant thing. Like all the most disciplined people I know wake up pretty early and go to sleep pretty early. Um,
Yeah, it's as if they like flip the after 9 p.m. nothing really productive happens. But if they take that extra, you stay up until say 12:30 playing video games, which I'm a big offender of doing that. If you flip that and then from 12:30 you wake up say 6:37, that 2.5 hours after 4:30 could be that video game time that you had the night before, but they've now flipped it into productive time, reading, meditating, working out, practicing a language.
mhm, I like it.
So I think that's what they've flipped and made and make what helps make them successful.
Yeah, I feel like those kind of those lifestyle coach guys, they're always the ones that wake up so early.
I mean, if they're doing it and they found success, I mean, there must be some truth there if they're all saying it.
Absolutely.
I saw this interview with Jeff Bezos, who's the CEO of Amazon, or yeah, of Amazon. And he was asked the question like, what does sleep mean to him? And he says, I prioritize 8 hours of sleep over anything else in the world. Because he was saying, because if I don't get 8 hours of sleep, what productivity am I doing with that extra 8 hours a day, and with like breaking into my 8 hours of sleep? And he broke it down into like, if I take away 4 hours, whatever percentage of my life I add to productivity time. He says that it affects his mood, his mental state the next day, his judgment. And so it just kind of train wrecks into this: if I take away from my sleep, my productivity will go down. And that is why I prioritize 8 hours of sleep. And he said, when you get to a level of like where he's at, where he runs one of the largest businesses in the world, he own like a good day for him is if he executes three good decisions. And so I kind of took that and was like, wow, like he's got focus. Like he only needs to make three decisions in a day, and he knows he had a stellar day or had a productive day. And I'm like, I don't know if I have, I can, I feel like I need to make a lot more than three good decisions a day to have a great day. And yet he only needs to make three, and he gets 8 hours sleep. So I
Yeah.
thought that was an interesting interview.
Yeah. If he's saying he can do it in three good decisions, like, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Like, if you were to actually count the amount of like good things that you consider good decisions in a day, uh, I wonder where your number would be or where my number would be. I don't think it would be very high. I don't know if it'd be more than three, honestly. But
Mm.
I like that as a goal. And I like that like he prioritizes sleep. Like sleep is such a sacred thing, and literally every facet of life is trying to invade upon that and say that sleep is not this important thing. But whereas every medical professional, every psychologist is saying, sleep helps you fend off depression. It helps you. I think if you get enough sleep, it helps with your blood pressure. It helps you um, to keep your weight down. It's like every positive effect in health, getting enough sleep has, and every positive mental effect getting enough sleep has. Um, and yet everything else is saying you don't really need sleep. Like you could just eat this drink this Bang energy drink, and you'll be fine.
That's a direct hit for me. Yeah, no, I know. I'm a big offender. I'm not a as big anymore, but I used to be. I used to operate off of four to 5 hours of sleep, maybe six. And I remember my sleep app used to say I average about 5.5 hours of sleep a night, and that was over a year or more because I had the app forever, like for a long time. I still have it today, and that and it when it flipped the switch and Fortnite was no longer a big thing in my life, like I just realized like 5.5 hours of sleep every night, it's not good for my health. And two, like my mood is gonna like change like from getting more sleep. And now I would say that I don't go to sleep as late anymore. I definitely think on Fridays and Saturdays I'll play video games. For example, I like to play with you, Tyler. But I don't do it every single night. I used to do it like every single night, even on work nights, just because I could and because you you do have access to things like Bang Energy that will help you get through not having enough sleep. But I have noticed when I do sleep more that I do feel better and I am more productive.
Yeah, and I think the key thing there is uh, not to not do things that you enjoy, but rather to actually control the time that you have because it really is your most valuable resource. Um, and one thing I've been thinking about a lot doing this show, and I've kind of been trying to like phrase it all into a sentence at some point. And this is kind of my working phrase so far, but like growing up is learning how to thrive in the system which you exist in. And I think right now we're kind of at this crossroads in society where everyone has this option to say, okay, I just want to be a part of this system, just kind of keep moving along with everyone else and doing all the normal things, and it's fine that I'm not becoming the person that I want to be because I'm doing the same things everyone else is doing. Um, but really, truly growing up and thriving is learning how to understand the system in which you live in, right? The American democracy, economic system, uh, the world we live in that is full of distractions, understanding how to thrive and make that system work for you. Um, and
100%.
and we at the New Adolescents
100%.
hope that that can be all of your realities.
Yep. It's not how much Bitcoin you have. It's not how much money you're making. It's not how many women you're sleeping with. It's really how to thrive in a system which you exist in. What are you doing to thrive for yourself? What good decisions are you making, and how you're ultimately focusing on what makes you you. All in all, your time. All in all, it's your time. That's my conclusion.
It's your time. Absolutely. Well, JP, I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Director's yelling at us. Cut it, cut it, cut it. We got the Friends reunion coming on set next.
Well, thank you all for hanging out with us again. I swear we really are trying to make these episodes shorter, but we've had some good topics lately, and if nothing else, they've been fun to talk about.
That's right. Just leave us on the radio, and you can fall asleep. We'll be your sound before you go to bed.
Sounds good. Well, everyone, until next time, this has been the New Adolescents. I've been Tyler.
And I've been JP. Thanks, everyone.